finances create freedom and fulfillment. And looking at it from a business perspective, and that, it's all about get the money, get the money, get the money. And not from a greedy perspective. It's more about how do you really focus on your business in order to maximize cash flow.
Well, that's how you survive.
Exactly.
Like, I didn't people get like, oh, it's not about money. Like, well, it needs to be some about money, right? Or the lights go out, right?
Right.
Just that we need more successful people, good ones, ones with integrity. That's just like, it blew my mind that somebody had to say that.
And I think small wins are everything. Those small wins really give us the confidence to keep going. And you get that little glimpse of what the future you could look like, or what a good future could look like, right?
Yeah.
And then you can build up on those small wins.
All right. So here we are. We are at the Badass Business Summit.
Yep.
And welcome to another episode of the Slow Smoke Business Podcast. The first episode in a long time where I'm not grilling.
Oh,
so
there you go.
I'm sorry to disappoint. If anybody wants to pull some DoorDash in here, we can stay on theme. Otherwise, so I've got a bunch of people in here. I was super fortunate to give a talk today, and just had a good time. It was a lot of fun, and I invited anybody that wanted to come over and sit and watch us do a podcast and join in. So I've got my new friend Lauren here, who's with the Badass Business Summit. So there you go. Everybody
there
wave. Yep. There we go. Make some noise for me. Yeah. Okay. There's our audience. Yeah. Okay. So, Lauren, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So, native of Cincinnati, Ohio.
Okay.
Hooday. Go
Who dey?
Bengals.
Go Bengals.
Go Reds. Go FC Cincinnati.
Okay. All the boxes checked.
All the boxes
Okay.
checked. Former athlete turned HR professional turned corporate dropout turned supporting everybody to put a little bit more you in your own life to maximize your potential.
And essentially the Ryan Seacrest of the Badass Business Summit.
Yes,
So,
I am.
Yeah, like so. There's been just a lot of really cool conversations here. I can't believe how many smart people are here speaking. You don't have to talk about my talk, okay? But like, what? Give me some stuff you've learned. Like, there's been so much good knowledge spit up here. Like, give me some nuggets.
It is, and it takes a little bit of time to download. What really stuck with me was one of the things from yesterday when Jerry McNamara spoke.
Yes.
And it was finances create freedom and fulfillment. And looking at it from a business perspective, and that, it's all about get the money, get the money, get the money. And not from a greedy perspective. It's more about how do you really focus on your business in order to maximize cash flow.
Well, that's how you survive.
Exactly.
Like, I didn't people get like, oh, it's not about money. Like, well, it needs to be some about money, right? Or the lights go out, right?
Right. But he also infused starting with the passion and the purpose. And when you find that, that's when you can really start honing in on the business and maximizing cash flow in order to reinvest and maximize that even from a more elevated perspective.
Yeah. And Jerry gave his talk barefoot, which I honestly didn't pick up on until like 10. That's how good he was talking. And like until 10 minutes in, I was like, oh, this dude's not wearing shoes. But he had something that I had never heard before, but I immediately was texting some of my guys.
Yeah.
It was the mafia offer, right? Which is your product either needs to be twice as good as your competition or half the price. And I'm like texting my, because I've been like saying that not as elegantly as that in a while. I'm like, I'm taking pictures of his slides because it was just so good. And it's like, I'm right in the middle of looking at some product lines and trying to figure out like how to price them and how to position them and everything else. And that was just such a clarifying statement. Like, things are so much easier if you're twice as good or half the price, right? You can't be, well, you shouldn't be both.
Right.
But you also can't be somewhere in the middle or you're going to struggle.
Yeah. And it gives you leverage in order to focus, right? That was the other thing that we've talked about. It's like, just focus on the one thing that's really going to drive your business.
Yeah. Who out here, do anybody else want to say something like that they heard that was a good nugget, right? Yeah, focus on the people that were around you. Yeah, I mean, a couple people touched on that, and we talked a little bit about it in the CEO panel yesterday, but like the people that you put around you, your team, the people that you hire, the people that you decide to work with as contractors and things, that's going to make or break your business. It really is. And I think it's easy, especially like there's a lot of people here that are like solopreneurs or people that have they're a single person team, or they've got one or two people. And so it's easy to manage your culture and your team when it's 2 or 3 people. It gets harder and harder, HR, right?
Yeah.
As you get bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's really important, even as a solopreneur, to define your own values, or the values that you want to grow into as an organization, because that only makes it easier, so that when you start to actually hire someone, you're not going back and being like, wait, what is it that I stand for? How do I do this? Because then it's rooted in terms of what is really important to you. And then as you go hire someone, you can infuse that back into them and ensure that it's reflected in them, but then allowing them to do it in their own way. I think that's where the magic really comes from.
Yeah, we did talk a lot about magic this week too. We've had the magic can kick in a lot of different ways. I also enjoyed the sales panel today. Mm-hmm. I thought that was like, if you're getting into business and you don't believe that everybody in your organization is in sales, they just are, and that doesn't mean that everybody has a quota, but it means that like everybody in your organization should be expected to be able to meet somebody at the grocery store and tell them what you do and why they should, use your business. And I don't think, this is like a rant that I could get on, but I don't think culturally, the sales profession gets enough respect.
Yeah. Fair.
I think, you have all these people that are trying to teach you these, we go to school. Like, why can I not go to college and major in sales? Because that's the easiest thing to take somebody and teach them some skills, and they can make a great living for themselves. And it's applicable to literally everything you can think of. Right. And yet there's this car salesman sort of like icky, ew, I don't want sales. I don't want to, but it's like, it's an important part of the business process. And let me tell you, if you suck at sales, like if your business can't sell, it doesn't matter how good you are. You're in trouble.
Yeah. What I really took from that in terms of those who can struggle with sales is like sales is really just about helping someone make a decision.
Right.
Whether you're the one that can help them with whatever they need or not. And the no is okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So that unlocked something for me early in my career when I realized that like it's not selling, it's just trying to figure out if I can help them. Yeah. And if you just position it that way, like, hey, I'd love to be able to help you. Maybe I can't, right? Yeah. And if you sort of, there's some magic in, there's that word again, then that if you sort of say, listen, I don't actually know if we can do business together, then people kind of start leaning in there. What do you mean? What do you mean? Like, why can't I work with you, right? Yeah. But it's true. And I think it puts people, it tears their defenses down a little bit, right? Yeah,
it's that idea of disqualifying someone versus qualifying them, right? Being able to walk in and say, hey, this may not necessarily be the right relationship for me as an organization or a business or a salesperson. I'm going to do a little bit of investigating and understanding, are you the one to partner with? That's the best option.
There's a healthcare tech company that you guys may have heard of called Epic Systems that just amazing company. Amazing. I forget her name, the lady that founded it. She's one of like Forbes billionaires, and she's like, it's amazing. Anyway, incredible company, and that's kind of their culture is when they're out selling, they'll sort of talk to a hospital system and go, I'm not sure if you guys are a good fit for us. And then like, what do you mean? Like, I want, because they have this reputation of having the best software and all this other stuff. So, it's just been a great conference. I didn't really know what I was getting into this, by the way. Like, Donnie Bovine, hello. Yeah. Like, you never know. I swear, I'm following him down a rabbit hole. But it's just been super enlightening. I'm glad, it's been several days, but this has been not only like a lot of insightful stuff, but like the community and the connections that everybody's made. Like, I've gotten like my inbox and LinkedIn is flooded with like all these people. And I actually know them this time. Like, how many people have a LinkedIn inbox filled with knuckleheads? This connecting and being like, I would love to, or the worst is like, I'm growing my professional network. And I'm like, no, you're not. Right. No, you're not. You're spamming is what you're doing, right? Because I don't know you. And unless there's some valuable reason that we're going to connect, like, why would I? Yeah. Anyways.
Or the worst where they make a presumption about what you are and who you are and then try to pitch you before they even have said one word to you. Yeah. That's the worst.
Cold emails are an art. Yeah. And I when people like, we started talking about tactical stuff. Like when I got one the other day and I wanted to stop reading it, but I was fascinated at how bad it was. And so it was like, Mr. Morgan, okay, I know your time is valuable. And this is, and if you would just give us 5 minutes, we will send you a Yeti tumbler and we'd be just so grateful. I'm like, dude, why are you emailing me? Like, get to the point. and then, archive and like never. So if you're out talking to people,
Yep.
one of the things I always told people is never thank somebody for their time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you've ever heard somebody say that, but I know that's coming from a good place. But you don't, if you thank somebody for their time, you're insinuating that their time is more valuable than yours. And you have something important to tell them. And so when you replace that statement, thank you for your time, with an equally polite statement like, I'm so excited to be here, right? Or I'm so excited to talk to you. That's but it doesn't lower you. And you see salespeople come in and they're like, oh my God, thank you for your time. I know you're busy and an hour of your time is valuable. And then you're sort of elevating this person to be like, yes, come on, lay your goods on the table and I will decide. It's just, you have to walk in the room like they are just as fortunate to be talking to you as you are to them, because you might be able to solve a valuable problem.
Yeah. And it reminded me of something that Donnie said this morning. It's like you owe it to yourself to level up.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
And honoring your own value, because you bring something to the table too. Yeah. They should be just as grateful or thankful or appreciative of being able to learn something from you simply from that conversation. Yeah.
Anybody out here ever get emails like that where you're just like, please? And I get, maybe they work. I guess they wouldn't do it that's not true. I don't think they work that well. I think people just don't know what else to do.
So yours not only.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
You said you still had to keep reading yours, right?
Yeah.
So
I did have to keep reading it. Yeah.
You're talking about it now. So I mean, it did something.
Well, I don't know what they were selling. That's so it. I can't tell you. Yeah. So he was saying like, yeah, well, it did something. You're still talking about it. It's like I don't know what they were selling. Archived it because it was just the technique was bad. And the truth is, like, cold emails and cold calls and cold interactions, you have to understand that we are so inundated with that shit that everybody is immediately up like this. And so you've just got to find a way. They call it like pattern break, right? You have to find a way to do it differently or say something differently or approach it differently so that someone like clicks off of I've hit the mute button already. Yeah. And, and that could be a lot of things. It could be I send you a thing. Hey, can I ask you a question? Yes. Right. Or can I get your advice on something? Yeah. And then you somehow weave that into what you're talking about. Hey, I was looking, does this make sense? Because I'm I'm talking to people that may have this problem. And I don't know, like there's just different ways to approach it.
Yeah. I think one that's been very valuable for me is like, hey, I saw in your post that you were talking about X, Y, and Z. What brought you to say that? Or what led you to say that? And you're like, oh, yeah. Well, okay. You're going to pick my brain. All right.
Yeah.
Whether you care or not, you pulled me in.
Yeah. I mean, and it's, again, it's all about listening. Like I said that earlier, like you got the 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, right? I mean, if you have a 10-minute conversation with somebody and they talk about themselves for 9 minutes and you talk for 1 minute, they are going to walk away thinking they subconsciously been like, I like that guy. I didn't say anything, right? I mean, but they had it, like they feel connected because it's so often in society that people want to talk and they don't want to hear you. Yeah. Says the guy that's talking like crazy right now. But like, but you know what I mean? Like it's all about, like, sales is about connecting with people. And at the end of the day, it's about getting people to believe you. Yep. Right. And they won't believe you unless they feel heard. They won't believe you unless they're not automatically tuning you out because you look like every other idiot that walked in trying to convince them something. Yeah. One tactic that I've found to be very helpful is that when someone is talking for 9 minutes and you're the one talking for 1, you've either asked them additional questions or you've restated or validated or acknowledged what they said. That is a mind blower for people. Yeah. Like, oh my God, you hurt. Wow. How did you put that into words? I was like, simple tactic. I'm just using your words back at you. Yeah. And most people don't realize that. Yeah. Who else? Anybody got any other nuggets they learned today that they are this whole time they want to talk about? Yes, ma'am. I'll repeat it in here. Don't worry. Well, hey, let me do this. Let me pause. Let's get her up here. Yeah, absolutely. And let her ask it because I think this would be a good. Yeah, go ahead. Be a good question. Come on up. I'm Lori Piper, Inner Joy Coach. Inner Joy Coach. Yeah. Possibly the best job title here. Okay. Like, for real. Okay. Thank you. So go ahead. Ask your question. So everybody has inner joy, and I believe everybody should learn how to unleash it. Mm-hmm. So I struggle charging for it. But
and it might have been you that said it. My mind is blown at this
Okay.
point. But someone on stage said, we need, and it was you, we need more successful people, good ones. And the first day I was working with Bob, you know Bob, I love him,
I love Bob.
And he was asking me all kinds of questions, and he said, "So you have integrity, right?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, I'm a coach. I help people with their lives. Of course, I have integrity." And later in the session, in the weekend, someone was saying something like, "Coaches, they know a lot of coaches that don't have integrity." I was blown away. So just that we need more successful people, good ones, ones with integrity. That's just like, it blew my mind that somebody had to say that.
Yeah, but so thank you for saying that. I mean, I think, by the way, that was spontaneous. Like, I didn't have that written into the speech. It was just kind of like something that I felt like I needed to say, because I think when you start talking about why you do what you do, I think culturally we're in a weird place where you almost have to apologize for success. Like, it's really not cool to have done really well. And everyone makes an assumption. Like, if you're a successful person, there is an assumption that you probably shanked somebody on the way up, right? And I'm by the way, it's 2023. I'm shank free. Like, I have not. Okay, and I think yeah, time. There's still time. But I think it's important to, like, the world needs good people that have the ability to help others, and you can't friggin' help somebody if you haven't even helped yourself yet. I mean, just like, people who are drowning can't save other people who are drowning.
Right.
You know, you can't. You have to. I mean, and it's not to say that, like, you have to be this perfect finished product to help with. Absolutely not. Like,
Thank goodness.
Thank goodness. Right. But, like, if there's a charity in need, or if there's a person that needs a help, or they need a job, or they need whatever, if you haven't built something that puts you in a position to help that person, you can't. Right. And I mean, but that's, I think, probably the most rewarding thing about sort of my journey was having the ability to give people a chance, right? I mean, we had hundreds and hundreds of people working for us, and I just loved seeing somebody who was hungry and wanted a job and wanted a chance, and being able to be like, okay, yeah, you got it, and I'm going to show you what I need from you, and I'm going to coach you up, and some of them, they thrive, right?
Yeah.
And it's so rewarding to watch that. And then other people, I think that was probably the hardest thing for me in running a business was learning that everybody that I wanted to thrive with me wasn't going to, and feeling responsible for their failure. It's tough, right? I mean, you have to, you sort of think like, gosh, realizing that everybody that's there with you at the beginning is not necessarily there with you the whole time. And that was a super hard lesson to learn, because I had, when we were this like motley little startup, and we had like 10 or 12 people, and we're like, eating Domino's pizza and working through the night and whatever. Like, the first time that I had to let one of those people go because they had done something, I was devastated. It's
heartbreaking.
But we just had no choice, and it was a difficult thing. And you get as you get older and you get more experience, you realize that people management part, picking the right people and then managing the right people through culture and whatnot, makes it. That's how you can be successful. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I got to a place where I felt like if somebody got terminated, it should never be a surprise. It just shouldn't.
Right.
Hello, HR. You feel the same way?
Yeah.
It just shouldn't be. No one should ever be shocked.
Right.
Right? Because you should have been explaining to them, unless it's like a reduction in force and you got to cut 20% of the people, and those are like, right. What's that? Or egregious. Out of the, okay. But, in those situations, like, I think you should have set the expectation for them, and they should know they're coming up short.
Right.
Right.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what leaders do.
Yeah.
Right.
So, Inner Joy Coach.
Yes.
I want to get to that for a second. Tell me, that's so fascinating. So tell me what exactly it is that you do.
I'm going to tell you what I do by complimenting you on your story.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Because twice he said, I don't know what it was, but I had this feeling. Too often, and I think it's especially, women, we're always looking at what we're supposed to be, what's expected of us, even though it feels icky. Mm. When you said that, I started crying because I'm like, can I say, damn it?
You can. I can. Permission granted.
I'm like,
there's literally the word ass.
I'm like,
up
no,
here.
that's true.
So.
Well, it's not really. It's a helmet. And I'm like, thank you. And I'm like, damn it. You get it. Jarrod gets it. We have to tap into our bodies and ask the question, does this feel right for me? It might be right for you, but if it doesn't feel right for me, then the answer is no, or maybe even a hell no. Yeah. And I thought, damn it, I have learned when I could say what I wanted unapologetically and without explaining why. Because that's the thing when you say, no, I really don't want to do that. Why? Does it matter why? No, I mean, yeah. I just don't want to do that.
It's your choice, yeah.
Yeah. So what I do as an inner joy coach, the only way you're going to find your joy in life is when you are listening to your gut, your heart, your soul. It's the only way you're going to find your inner joy. And that's what I want to help. Well, I'd love to have everybody do that. But my target market is women because, I can relate to what women go through and the expectations, especially in corporate America. I was in corporate America feeling like I have to do more than a man in order to get any recognition. And can I tell when?
You can cuss. You can do whatever you want to do. You were rolling.
When I was in corporate, so I was a software engineer, and so I'm smart. And honestly, there are a lot of men doing what I did that would spout, this is what you do, this is what you do. And I'm like, no, you don't. That's really not the way it works. Right. But anyway, we'd be in these meetings, and I would give a suggestion. And our branch manager, he would just totally, poo-poo what I said. Yeah. 5 minutes later, one of the guys would say the exact same thing, and everybody's like, yay! I'm like, seriously? Am I not in this room? So I want women to be seen and heard.
You know what's so cool about that story? By the way, thank you for sharing that. That's what's so cool about that story? I have not. I'm as a big old white male. I've definitely not had that experience, right? But I've had my own experiences where I felt like I can't get a seat at the table because I was in a group of people. When I worked at the construction company, I was in a group of super rednecks, and so me being tech boy put me as this weird. It was such a weird. What a weird way to be an outsider, right? But they were like, come on, computer boy,
oh my gosh.
Put it on your Palm Pilot, computer boy. What beer are you drinking there, computer boy? Anyway, and then in other times, when I'd be in academia, I would find myself getting sort of pushed aside because I was some big old dumb redneck, right? And so what I love about your story and what you did, and I encourage anybody that feels like they're in a place where they're like an outsider and they're not being treated fairly, if you can't get a seat at the table, you have to build your own table, right? And that's what you did.
I like that. Yeah.
So now you're your own coach. You're making your own rules, and you're telling people this, and there is literally nobody standing in your way going, that's not right, right? Because you're an inner joy coach, and you have set your own criteria. You made your own table.
Yes. And what I love about it is there are people who call me Joy, even though my name is Lori. And then they apologize. I'm like, no. I love it. If you look at me and think Joy, I'm doing my job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said something a second ago when you first sat down that you have a hard time charging for stuff. Is that a...
Yeah, it is a problem for me because I know people who could thrive with what I have to offer, but they can't pay for it. So I need to figure a way that, I can do like volunteer or something like, and maybe it's just on what I post on social media, and just, but that's what I struggle with. I'm like, I really want to help these people and I know they don't have the money.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so if you guys are familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk, right? Gary V, he has a philosophy where he gives. Like, he has so much crap that he gives out for free. His advice, his tactics. You can go on his website, download stuff for free. And his philosophy on that is like he's going to give. And then there's going to be a moment where he asks for something back. And there's this like sea of people that can't wait to do. Yes.
I love that.
Hey, man, would you subscribe to this thing? Or I'm putting this book out. Would you guys all pick up a copy of that one? And you've given them 25 things. And so they're like, heck yeah, I'm going to do that. So I don't know. Maybe you need to think about the way that people pay for you. And maybe because I feel what you're saying. Like, you don't want to hold the joy back until they pay $9.99, right? To get the joy.
That's right.
You want the extra joy package, or you want the, like
2 for 1.
But I think there's definitely a way for you to be abundantly helping people like that.
Yeah.
But then have structures that, whether they're books or seminars or things that if they want to go to the next level, like that's where you can collect. And I mean, I'm already like, you're just radiating happiness, right? I love it. And I think more people should hear about that. Don't you guys?
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else have a question? Yes, Krista? Yeah, come on up.
Thanks for taking your tissue. I want to share the joy.
Okay. So let's hear it. What you got? Krista, tell us who you are real quick.
Hi, I am Krista Tipton. I am an inventor and social worker in that order right now. Thank you. I wanted to say that there was something that you said that was very powerful to me.
Okay.
When you were telling your story and how you were that one of your competitors was mindset.
Yes.
And I hadn't really heard that before, like the mindset of others. And then I also thought about the mindset of myself. And your talk was called Progress Over Perfection. And I hear that a lot. But there's something that you said. You said, foolproof is not the standard.
Right.
And I thought, that's the standard that I'm holding myself to with my products and services and moving forward and helping people. I'm holding myself. Oh, is this in the way? Oh, so you can see my face.
That's okay.
Thank you. So you can see my face. That's good. I was holding myself to foolproof as the standard. And when you laid it out, that what are the questions that people are saying that the status quo has, and how accountable we hold the status quo, holding myself accountable in a different way or more perfectionistic is getting in my way.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that, by the way. I think that it's so easy. We're our own worst critic, right? We are. And so you sit there and you look at somebody else's thing and you think, that's so great. I wish I could be that great. So the reason that I call the podcast Slow Smoked Business is not just because I'm like a goofball that wants to grill out but if you look at barbecue as an analogy, people think of barbecue and they see a plate of finished product, right? A brisket, ribs, whatever, and it's this beautiful finished thing. And unless you've done it before, you tend to not understand that there's this huge, long process that cannot be rushed, right? To create that. And I think business and success in that thing it's just a great analogy, because it's so easy for us to look across the room and look at a plate of barbecue and go, damn, man, I want to make barbecue like that. But not understand that it's a slow process that somebody probably did hundreds of times. When we went to a barbecue restaurant last night, I asked if we could see the pit master, and he came out and he talked to us, and I was like geeking out for like an hour. This guy, he was amazing. This guy has barbecued hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, all sorts of different things. And so I'm looking, he's showing me on his phone pictures of briskets that he's done, and I'm going, wow, and if you scroll through Slow Smoke Business, you've never seen brisket, okay? Because I'm not good at it yet. Mm-hmm. But it's easy for me to look at him and go, well, why am I not that good? And not understanding that, like, we're on a journey, right? And he's been on this journey and he's worked at it, and it's not fair for me to compare myself to somebody else, because the only thing I got to be comparing myself to is my own self, and see if I can get, I don't know where I saw it the first time, but somebody had a sign on the wall that said better than yesterday, right? And if you could just focus on being better than yesterday, don't try to boil the ocean. Don't try to be the best thing you can possibly be. Just be better than yesterday. And then tomorrow, be better than yesterday, right? And you're not always going to be. But if you just keep that mindset of stacking little wins, man, a 1%, there's a reason why, 8% growth doesn't sound like a whole lot. But if you have something in the stock market and it consistently grows 8% over a long period of time, you have a lot of money, right? And I think, success is the same way. Little stacking little wins like that really helps.
I absolutely believe that. And I think small wins are everything. Those small wins really give us the confidence to keep going, and you get that little glimpse of what the future you could look like, or what a good future could look like, right? Yeah. And then you can build up on those small wins. So I think it's an incredibly important idea.
I think so the ProctorU story where we're watching people take tests over a webcam, and people will, when I tell people that story, a lot of people will say, like, gosh, they'll say, I wish I had that idea. And I'm like, what would you have done if you had it? Like, I have an idea to cure cancer. I can't do it, right? But they also just don't understand that it was just like it was just years of conquering little mini battles. An example of that was when we first started, you have to interact with a person. Well, if I ask you to take a test, what time you want to take your test? You're going to say on the hour or the 30-minute mark, because that's human nature. I'll take it at 1:30. I'll take it at. You're never going to say 1:20, right? Well, the problem with that is as we got bigger and bigger and bigger, everybody wanted to take, we had these giant waves at the same time, and we struggled to staff for that. And so we had to build this algorithm that when you would come in, it would give you 220, and then you would come in and it would give you 230, and then the next person would come in and give them 215, and then somebody else gets 220 again, and it would just go boop, 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 like that. Now, there's literally a million problems and techniques that it takes to build this giant thing that Measure Learning ProctorU is now. But that's kind of how you do it, is you have these little wins, these little battles that you got to fight, and then you conquer that, and then guess what? Here comes another one, and here comes another one. And sometimes 10 of them are coming at once. But it's just those little wins like that over and over and over that you dust yourself off at some point, and you look and you go, holy shit, like we're way further down the road than we could have been.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, extremely powerful. I appreciate that you brought up the when of things, the human nature of when we time things. Kim Laughlin was talking earlier about hating, don't you enjoy Mondays? And if not, why? And you mentioned Daniel Pink and his different books. And then when it talks about, when we're most likely to quit, it's Mondays, our birthdays, our anniversaries. There's something like about 80 different starting over points throughout the year. And how we approach each one. Yeah. And sometimes I think, leading back to the small wins, being able to bring those small wins to that Monday again and restart the process, right?
Yeah. We have a responsibility to be successful. If you're a good person and you're going to do good things in the world and you're going to be one of the ones that God can count on, like, you have a responsibility to be successful, because not everybody can be. And there's going to be, we have to try to be strong for the people that can't be strong for themselves. And, there's so many of you guys have got missions in here that I think, like, man, that really does help people, right? It really does. And so you have a responsibility to figure this out. If you truly believe that what your mission is going to help people, and or you truly believe, even if it's help people, even if it's something that's just for pleasure, you're throwing parties or whatever, there's value in that. And then there's value in just the success and the ability for you to do good things for other people. I like there's was a book I read a long time ago called Becoming a Millionaire God's Way. And that sounds like a really hokey thing, but that's the first time I ever read the concept of the Good Samaritan and how the Good Samaritan was a successful person. You can't scoop a dude up off the road and put him in a hotel for a week and pay for everything unless you have your stuff together, right? You can't.
Can we harken back to that for a second?
Yeah.
In a conversation that we had, we were talking about filling in those gaps. Like I said, that I'm a social worker. I come from that world. And formal services are so incredibly important, and they're important to be funded. But there's those gaps in the safety nets that are filled by the charities and the individuals that can be that Good Samaritan and put that person in a hotel when they don't meet the criteria for other things.
Yeah.
And we were talking about, I thanked you as a social worker for that, because to be able to call those resources and those people that can do what we can't do makes a huge difference in those people's lives.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for saying that. I mean, so when I talked about Hope for Autumn, once a week I get an email from our board of the people that we're helping, and every week it's a gut punch, And so when we talk about helping people, you got to be one of the good ones or whatever. Like every week I get a story and 2 or 3 stories in my inbox that are like, little Jane has this super scary cancer. Her mother is a service industry worker, and she's getting very aggressive radiation treatment, and she's up all night throwing up. Her mother can't work, and her father left because the kid's sick, right? Mm-hmm. And so her car's about to be repossessed, and her power just got turned off. And so we'll go and we'll make a financial grant and try to save her car and everything else, and that's what this organization does, right? But it's a reminder to me, like, not everybody's in the same situation. Mm-hmm. And there are people like that need people like you guys, right, to be successful enough that you can come in and help them like that. And there's and that's just one avenue of ways you can help. There's so many people out there that need help, and that's what I would challenge all of you guys to find out, like, how does your success make the world better and help other people? Because if you can feel that in your bones, right, then screw that competitor that's trying to knock you down or keep you from making that deal, or screw that mindset in your industry that people are, I'm going to push through this. Like, I'm going to figure it out because of what is after that word.
Just at the summit alone, they talked about your story.
You want to get on up here?
Come on. You're saying good stuff. Come on.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Krista.
Jamie Bonetto here in Texas, retired military, retired law enforcement.
Texas Jamie.
Yep. So in the summit, one of the things, I've learned so much, and I'm not an entrepreneur. I am staying in the summit. Even Keith and Donnie asked me, why are you still here? I don't, because
bad for business, by the way. That's
no.
I will.
No, and I tell them because it's still, I'm still helping people. I'm introducing people. I'm the networking guy. Yeah. I don't have that dream of becoming a millionaire. I never have. I'm content where I'm at. But I think I can help without being with money. And that's, in law enforcement, it's hard because we did pull together our money to give a hotel room for that guy. So we didn't have to be rich to help him. Just that's, I guess, is part of the giving, or part of the wins, if you will. And going back to the story part, I struggled so hard, and just in your deal, it wasn't something you said immediately, but I realized I don't have a story because I don't have any success. I don't have a. No, I don't
know. Yeah. I bet you have a story, man.
I don't have that. I guess I don't have that.
You're ex-military?
I retired military, retired law enforcement.
I smell a story in there somewhere. I do.
But it's not.
That's an admirable career, man.
But it's not stories you want to tell people. That's the problem.
Yeah, well, I think that part is. I think that what you just said might be the story.
Yeah.
You've seen things. You've experienced things like I worked at the sheriff's office. Like I come from a law enforcement family. Those people have to go to some dark places. Mm-hmm. And my brother, who's been an entrepreneur with me in the business, he was a drug investigator, and he ended up getting out of it because he said it bothered him that he got so desensitized to some of those things that he was like, man, I shouldn't be stepping over dead bodies and just no problem, right?
But I think that's what I am still doing here, is because I don't have to be a business owner. I can still say, hey, I know this guy who can really help you over here. Boom, connect, and then I can go to the next group and next. And that's what I'm staying in this group for, because I believe in what Donnie's doing here. So that's where I'm at with it. So when I hear some, when you say you have to be successful to be good, or when you're successful, you have to have ethics and stuff, I think you have to be good. I think if you're good, you have an obligation to be, if you're successful, you have an obligation to be good.
Yeah.
Not that you have to be good to become successful. I mean, it's once you're there, you have an obligation, but everyone has an obligation to help each other.
Yeah.
If you get money as a byproduct on the way, good on you.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Let me say this. You definitely have a story. And if you don't feel like it's a story that you can tell, I would probably say that it's because it's still being written. Right? And you're here doing all this stuff and helping other people. And I just don't think just because it hasn't landed in some tidy little thing that you can say, let me tell you my story. And it has a beginning and a middle and an end and a moral and a talking dog and whatever. It's still being written.
There you
go.
So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Well, guys, is anybody, if anybody else, I know I don't want to keep everybody all night. This has been such a cool conference and a cool moment to do a podcast like this. So thank you guys for showing up. I appreciate you. And thank you very much. Thank you, Alex, our producer, who is in the UK and stayed up till midnight at his time to do this show. So thank you, Alex. And we'll see you guys next time on Slow Swig Business. Alex is the hero.